Hi everyone, I'm back for another video from the PTR. This time I wanted to talk about the Mighty Throw Barbarian. This is a ranged new barbarian skill that you can now play, and is very fun and very powerful. You see me here in a pit 95 on the PTR. 100 is the new maximum, so this is pretty close to the end. Not the overall strongest build in the game or something like that, but you know, good enough. And you see here I'm pumping for like multiple hundreds of millions, sometimes multiple times per second, so it actually really has some serious damage output. So I want to show you a little bit of what we've done here. I was cooking this Barb a little bit because I was quite excited about ranged Barb. I was actually hoping that the Barbs would get a ranged skill, and they did. So I was pretty excited. This is also like kind of the main thing that I really theory crafted on the PTR for the Barbs, because the phone stuff was really bugged to hell. So there was not really all too much to figure out there for me right now. And yeah, like most of the core skills and stuff are not really in the greatest place. And then we have like all of the like kind of old builds that are also there, like Death Blow and Rupture and these things from Season 5 with the third blade. This still exists and is also around, but I think Mighty Throw is definitely one of the top ones for the Barbs. So the way this build works is that you throw these weapons on the ground. You always throw 3 of them at a time from the aspect, the Herculean Spectacle aspect, and it gets a bit of a damage buff as well. And then they also pulse while they're on the ground. So that's also kind of nice because you get some extra chip damage and also lucky hit procs if you want to include any kind of lucky hits. This is actually a skill now on the Barb for the first time, I would say, that has some pretty serious lucky hit values as well. So this could also be interesting to make some funny stuff around, for example, Andariels or so, but I have not actually done that here. This is just an overpower build. You see here we're constantly overpowering. This is done with the bash. So there is an option to use a two-handed bludgeoning weapon to bash, and whenever you crit 4 times, you get the next skill will be overpowered. So what we do is actually use 1 cleave bash temper and then 1 mighty throw temper to get the double cast or double damage. I'm not sure which one it is right now. And we don't actually max out the mighty throw temper. We get pretty close to the max if you get like a really good roll and then masterwork it up. But you can't hit 100%, and like this you can do 1 bash into a pack, you get 4 crits from the cleave, and then you throw mighty throw. So it's like a 1-to-1, you know, 1 bash, 1 throw, 1 bash, 1 throw, at least when you have AoE combat. And then on the boss you have to bash more often. So if it's a single target situation and you have 100% crit chance, which is relatively easy to reach these days thanks to, for example, the new Hair of Perdition, the new Mythic Helm, you get tons of crit chance, plus, you know, something like Starless Skies or so. So you can actually get to 100% pretty reliably. And then on the boss, you would have to do a 4-to-1 cycle. You see here, there's a buff stacking up on the bar. Well, it's hard to see sometimes, but it's like this little bash symbol that you see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's basically like a combo point Barb in the end. And you can't really do this 1-to-1 unless the boss, for example, spawns adds. Then, you know, you can cleave those adds, get your bash faster back, and then you're blasting. But yeah, it still has okay single target, but it does go down quite a bit on the bosses. But as you see here, tier 95, and it's still going all right. So I want to show you a little bit what the setup looks like. I've been experimenting as well with like a non-overpower version, but overpower builds in general are just kind of like the thing right now, I guess. Whenever you can go overpower, you kind of should go overpower. Overpower benefits a lot from the reworks in the expansion, where we just have a lot less life now. In fact, the base life right now is 400, but our real life values go up to, you know, for example here 15k, with a potion something like 20k or so. So the ratio between the actual life values and the base life is way larger than it used to be in the past, and this really benefits overpower builds, because the more life you have compared to base life, the more damage you gain. And the same with the fortify. If you fortify all that life, you get an extra overpower multiplier. So it is really, really strong to go for overpower in general. This is the same for like necros. If you can, like these overpower builds definitely gained a bit there with, for example, Bone Spirit, Blood Wave, and so on. It's the same for the Barbs and the same for the Druids. All these overpower builds just kind of like got lifted up a little bit. So in this case, this bash version with the overpower here that we have from the combat bash is really good. I did try it without, and it can also just kind of play a kind of spam mighty throw only setup where you just don't really care and you get resources not from the bash, but for example from like your shouts or, you know, just regeneration. There's various ways of doing this. So just like a bit more of a chill version that will probably also work out in, like, for example, Torment 4 difficulty, farming, and so on. but here we went for the overpower. I did this after I watched Snail blast a little bit with his setup, so he was also doing some overpower stuff that I previously had not made a setup for, and then after, you know, cooking and experimenting a bit, I felt the overpower version was definitely stronger. So that was my impression here. I made like a high-end planner here. This is what I have tested with. So they have the Air of Perdition helm, we have the Shroud of Forced Death. This is also a really nice item for Barbs in general, I would say. The new Mythic chest. The main thing about this item is the +1 to all passives. This is like the kicker here. So this is kind of the Shaco, but for your passives. So you get a +1 to everything. On the PTR, this is actually bugged a little bit, and it only works for passives that you actually put a point into. But yeah, for example, I didn't get stuff like Raid Leader healing and, you know, the less damage reduction here and so on. So a few things were missing there. But you get a lot of little nice bonuses. You get a bit of defense here from those imposing presence and martial vigor passives, for example. Then you get like this entire cluster down here, which is very nice because we use two-handed bludgeoning weapons. There's like this crit, overpower, extra damage with bludgeoning and so on. So lots of good stuff. You get healing from Invigorating Fury. We have this Fortify here, also from the Bash, which is kind of like perma fortified easily. Yeah, a bunch of stuff all around here. So very nice. I also put in Charge and Leap. These are kind of optional, but you have Unstoppable here, so you can have the Sea Break from Charge, which is nice. And we have the Leap just to kind of go around sometimes, and it just kind of feels good. You could also just leave this empty or something, or do like, I don't know, a Ground Stomp or an Iron Skin or something. But we have the Yen's Blessing here, and the Yen's Blessing always casts one of your cooldown skills every 8 seconds. And the idea here is that we only have one of the shouts and one of the cooldown skills that can possibly be hit with this. So we have Mighty Throw and Bash that don't have a cooldown. Then we have those here, the mobility skills, and this is an ultimate. So the only option that the Yen's Blessing can trigger is the Challenging Shout here. When I played this, I think I actually played this with a Warcry, but I felt like with basically almost no defenses here on the armor, Challenging Shout is probably the better option. We don't really need the Warcry that much. It's like a 50% buff, and we have Berserking easily anyway, so we don't need to go for that. And instead, go Challenging Shout. It makes you very tanky. I don't need to have like Tyrios Might then, and this was actually a really nice strategy. Or for example, if you don't do very high-end content, Rallying Cry is kind of cool. It gives you speed, fury, so it kind of makes the whole setup work more easily earlier. But yeah, this Yen's Blessing is really nice. It also solves most of your res issues without Tyrios Might, for example. Yeah, definitely other variations of building this. For example, here we have the Call of the Ancients. So I try to get Call of the Ancients cooldown here on like the ring and the amulet. You can get it pretty low, but not really permanent. But they're also nice because they give you fury and they give you this damage and attack speed buff here. So you just kind of use them as like a support tool. You can also go with the Ariad's Bearing Pants. That is an option. It also has insane amounts of res, for example, and then lots of cooldown for the Call of the Ancients. You can get it down to, I think, 9 seconds. Even less, I think, with a Shaco equipped, but you go with the Air of Perdition. And then you have them almost permanent. So that's also kind of nice. Yeah, and then the rest is just kind of like typical barbarian stuff. You pick into passives here, and we try to get a lot of like the skill ranks here. So this is currently not shown in the planner, but this has a lot of ranks here because this is converted to a core skill thanks to the third blade. This is an item from season 5 that makes your weapon mastery skills also core skills and removes the cooldown. Usually this has a cooldown, so you can't really spam this from level 1 like I did here in this video. But once you get the third blade, so more endgame, you can then spam Mighty Throw. It's basically like a core skill setup. And then we get lots of ranks here. We have core skill ranks on the Starless, on the helm. You can put it on the gloves. You can have like, I don't know, 25 ranks or something like that. So it's gonna be pretty wild. And for the key passive, I have Unbridled Rage. This is something that you can do at least late game once you have the full setup with Starless Skies. The cost is not really that bad. And you get this 45% damage buff. And alternatively, whenever you feel like you're still running into resource issues, you just go Unconstrained. It's like a slightly weaker damage buff, but otherwise, yeah, it just makes it way easier to sustain the resources. There's not a strong reason in this build to spend a lot of resources besides the Invigorating Fury healing, and there's not really like an extra benefit other than that. So if you feel like you have resource issues, just go this. Makes everything way easier, for example, before Starless Skies. And the rune combo I used here was also quite potent. I had the Standstill with the Horrid Decrepify, so we constantly have this 10% execute around us and the damage reduction in the slow, so it's kind of helpful to survive. And then we had the Evoke power from another class and Petrify from Druid, which gives you, I think, 50% extra crit damage. So this is very helpful to just take down bosses faster and like stun stuff around you, so you kind of just get nice CC and damage reduction here. As a Barb, we have access to berserking easily anyway, for example, from anchor management. So we don't need like Warcry Rune or something like that. Any other powers that we have here, so we have Limitless Rage, since we generally get full Fury and then some above that, we can go Limitless Rage is a very powerful 90% damage multi if you generate 15 Fury at max Rage, so it's very nice. And then we have Accelerating, just like extra attack speed here, Edge Masters, nothing really crazy, this can be swapped out for other powers. And then the Herculean Spectacle, I'll put this on the neck. This is the Mighty Throw, like triple throw basically, the new aspect that goes with the new skill. For early game, I heard that this is also like a kind of decent option here for like, you know, leveling up a Barb or so, but I didn't really get around to trying it out to like, you know, level a Barb fresh from 1 to 60 or something like that. But I know Condit has done that and he has been experimenting with this, but you have to remember you have a cooldown at the start. Without the third blade, this has a 12-second space cooldown, and there's a lot of like pretty good cooldown skills now on the Barb. For example, Ground Stomp is like a thing, and then Mighty Throw is a thing. So I did try this a little bit, and it seems to work just fine, kind of like using these as a cooldown dump, and then in between, you know, casting your core skills, for example, until you eventually get like the full setup online of the third blade at least. That's kind of the one core item in the entire build that kind of makes it function like it should in late game. Plus the cleave temper that I mentioned at the start. Either way, I had a really good time on the throw Barb, so that's my setup. I have this linked down in the description. Stay tuned for more of my PTR videos. I also want to make some feedback videos and some, you know, what has changed and so on kind of updates, so that you guys are well informed. But I think the Barbs are looking pretty cool for Season 6. I really had a good time with this Mighty Throw, and there's more new stuff like the Thorns and so on that is coming. Also like some new Earthquake and Death Devil techs that could be quite interesting, but unfortunately I didn't really get to try them myself. So hope you enjoyed this video here, and I'll see you guys next time.